What up, Hyperchange? Welcome to another episode. Today we've got up-and-comer in the financial YouTuber space. I'm so excited to meet him and dive deeper. Zachary, young investor 2 on Twitter. What's up? Welcome to Hyperchange.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, for sure. You popped up on my radar a couple weeks ago, and I've been seeing your content on Twitter, just awesome tweets and analysis. And you're so young, but you're putting out YouTube videos and tweets with just really good sort of financial content. And I've kind of been blown away. So I'm really curious if you could kind of fill us in on like who you are and how did you get to this point of kind of knowing so much at such a young age?
Yes, so I started investing around, I think it's like 5 or 6 months ago. I've always been very kind of into EV stocks. I mean, probably like 70% of my portfolio is in EV. You know, I really believe in that kind of sector. I originally got into stock market investing as I used to be interested in other stuff like history, and some of my friends were quite interested in that. And then you sometimes read stuff in history about the financial sector, and eventually I decided to. So here in the UK we have an app called Trading 212. That's our version of Robinhood, and I decided to sign up to that. And you know, it's been on the upwards movement ever since.
Awesome. And so what like sparked your interest? Like you say history, but what really got you to be like, man, I need to open an account and start kind of putting my own money into this?
Yeah, it's like sometimes on your phone you would get those newsfeed pops up, and then even I, before investing from a long time before I had any interest in investing, I mean, I'd already known who Warren Buffett was. Not like didn't know much about him. All I knew is he was some old guy who invested in the stock market. And yeah, and all he invested in is food companies. But I always know very little about the stock market, and yeah, it's really smart. So when you see sometimes content, history, for example, maybe about when, for example, when the Spanish Armada or something comes and invades England, your stock market obviously tanks on that news, and when you get the Rothschilds sending fake messages to the London Stock Exchange, saying that the Spanish are marching onto London so they can buy the shares really cheap, and then it obviously bounced back once they realised that wasn't happening. So yeah, reading stuff like that, and that really sparked my interest in investing.
Wow, dude, I love that was like the first pump and dump. That's some amazing market
I know
history,
the
right
first
there.
company done. Yeah.
I, can you tell us about like, maybe what's your favorite or largest position right now in your portfolio and like tell us why?
Yeah, so my largest position right now is the company's whose shirt you're wearing, Arcimoto.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
Awesome.
biggest position in the portfolio right now. I'm initially invested in the stock because I only found about like a month ago or something. So I got under the initial cost basis of 591. I brought loads of shares. I think I had at one point up like 40% of my portfolio in it because I just felt Arcimoto was the thing. It's high risk, but it's I believed in the management. I believed in what they were doing. So then we had obviously that massive run up. 69% in a day of on
Yeah.
Arcimoto. The biggest gain ever on the stock that I made over. So like I've got about £800 in the stock market at the moment. I think it's like £1,000 where you live. And on that day, I made something like $120 from one stock in one day. I was like,
Wow.
whoa! And I'm blown away by this. I was thinking, this is amazing. Um, I did sell half of my stock when we were at like 18. I just thought, when you're up 100% a week, come down. I think I've been buying up recently more shares at 11 around that area. I've been buying some more.
And so when you talk about these prices, like, what kind of research are you doing to buy the stock? Are you looking at the financials? Are you just looking at the product, or what's your kind of thought process with how you buy and sell?
Yeah, so I'm not the kind of person who really studies financials. I mean, obviously, I look to see what a company's valuation is. I mean, I got on that company called Arrival, which was going to be merging with a SPAC. I think it's called CIG. I got on that $11 and I sold it at like 28, within the space of 4 days. That was yeah, 4 days. I got on it to initially we had rumors of a merger. There was no confirmation. I jumped on that at 11. I brought like a few shares in it, and I thought, is I'd actually watched a video of their delivery van a while back, and I thought, if it's true, maximum I lose is like a buck on each share. So that was only gonna be like $4. So I did buy the stock at 11. The next day I was really looking. The next day they announced the confirmation of it. The stock went up to like 16, and it's just carried on going up. Jim Cramer was pumping it up the other day. I sold a bit too early on it, but we got to the situation where because only 4% of the company's going to go public, when you look at how many shares are in existence and then, in the stock market, and then look at the valuation of the company and the same valuation like 37 billion dollars, when you're only looking to make 14 billion in 2025, I just saw that. I thought, the run's been great, but it's like, I'll buy back if it goes lower, but I thought the valuation was too high. And for stocks in general, which I look at, I do look at the financials a bit, but mainly I'm looking for something which is high growth, maybe something a bit unusual like Arcimoto, kind of an unusual kind of freewheel vehicle company. I think the first one I heard of was their Solo, but that looks like the back of it's just been chopped off by a knife. There was a picture on Facebook the other day, and it was a Solo versus a normal SUV. The Solo was like 4 meters down from the normal SUV. It looked really bad on the side of it, and I thought, that's, I think it's only a one-seater. Then I saw Arcimoto, it's a lot more, the design's a lot more better for kind of a freewheel vehicle, a lot more open, a lot more well designed, and I brought the stock. It's funny because I have some other EV companies, but my biggest non-EV company bet at the moment is a plant-based food company, Tattoo Chef. I did initially look at Beyond the Meat. I persuaded my dad to buy a burger once, so I didn't have to take the risk of eating it if it went wrong and it tasted really bad. And so I made him buy it for himself, and it was all it tasted was a corn, and I just thought, the thing is Beyond Meat is kind of advertising itself as a meat alternative, and it really didn't taste anything like meat at all. So I brought Tattoo Chef, which doesn't claim to be meat. It's more so. Usually when you go to the store and you pick something up, it's really unhealthy. They aim to make more vegetarian kind of meals like that. Pick up something in the microwave and you get home. They're growing at like 30-40% a year. So I just thought, win-win. The stock's down loads from its highs. We just recently went to the stock market. I mean, we've got in the next few days analyst day coming up, so I'm hoping for some nice price targets on that for them, hopefully, and then bounce back. I'm down on it, but when you look at that, I think in a year that could be double my money in a year because it's so under the radar. Once the analysts pick up on it, we've got like one analyst so far, but once the analysts pick up on stock like that, it gets you a lot of media attention, PR attention, draws a lot more investors to your stock. I just thought that it's going to be a win-win.
Really cool. And how did you find that company? I'm like so impressed. I'm like, the Beyond Meat burger, I tried it and it was like, it just wasn't good.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the Impossible Burger though. Like, I think that they're still private, but their burger or like their, plant-based one is so much better. I thought, have you tried that one?
No, I don't think they're in the UK at the moment. Impossible Foods, but if I ever hear a rumor that they're going to go public for, I don't know, a SPAC or something, there's something which you can buy into before it's all the institutions buying, like you see with Snowflake, DoorDash, Airbnb. I would just scoop up shares, and I think their food seems to be a lot more. I think it's a lot more well backed. It's a lot more, it tastes. I think from what I saw online, it tasted a lot better than the Beyond the Meat one. But I mean, even Beyond Meat's valuation is. I'm not a big. I don't really judge companies on valuations because then you can say Tesla's got the most ridiculous valuation in the world. How long is it going to take for Tesla to catch up with that valuation? You look at robots. I think Tesla it's going to be Robotaxis which make or break it with the valuation. But I think with Beyond the Meat, the valuation was ridiculous. They say they're going to be growing at a certain amount of percentage a year, but one thing which always stays with me with Beyond Meat is in the biggest supermarket here in the UK, Tesco's, two Beyond the Meat burgers would cost you £5 or £4. 4 meat ones would cost you £4. What one are you going to choose if you're looking to maybe try out Beyond Meat and maybe want to go vegetarian? Honestly, don't think you're gonna, and if you're not earning like loads a year or whatever, I don't think you're going to be looking at a Beyond the Meat burger which has got 2 burgers and then the normal meat one which has like 4. So I just thought, I just don't believe in Beyond Meat. I'm sure in the long term it's going to go up, like most stocks, good ones, but it's just not a stock I feel comfortable buying into. So I felt more inclined to buy Tattoo Chef.
Gotcha. And how do you, these trends that you're investing in, like, the disrupting the meat industry, electric vehicles, these are really like, I'm really aligned with those trends, huge opportunities, totally disrupting industries. Is that part of your thesis? Because it seems like you're coming at it with that lens of like, what's the next 50 years look like? And that's kind of how you look at all your companies. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I at the very start used to hear, I don't know, it seems like more like dividend investors have like value investors have like 7% of the market in their hands. I don't know, you seem to have all the famous investors who are dividend investors, like really well known ones like Warren Buffett. So I started off with that. When I spent £30 on AT&T stock and got 60p, I was thinking, this isn't entertaining enough for me. There's not enough movement in this stock. All AT&T does is go from 30 to 28, 29, 30.
Yeah.
Repetitive pattern. I'm not really in the mood to day trade the stock. So I just decided I'd rather do, I had my ups and downs with originally getting into it, but then, I discovered a lot more EV kind of stuff, started buying into EV, and, it's been great ever since then.
And what's the status of EVs in England? Are you seeing a lot of Teslas on the road?
No, so I'd say where I live, we're not, we're not like places like London or something where there's like loads of businesses, very rich. I'd say there's only a few Teslas in the UK. My dad's friend, he runs a like recruitment business. He's got a Tesla. I've been in it, and as soon as I saw that Tesla, I was like, oh, this thing's good. This is going to be successful. The whole design, of the Tesla's so much more, technology advanced. I mean, you've seen like I think Volkswagen back in 2015, they had a CEO who said we were going to be going fully electric in 2 years. Everything we make is going to be electric. Unfortunately, the CEO didn't realise that their largest shareholder in Volkswagen was a Saudi Arabian oil tycoon. So obviously, he got fired soon enough for that decision. They decided to continue with their normal gas ones because I think that was their main supply was the Saudi Arabians oil business. So the other day there was something on the news like GM's going to spend $88 billion to beat Tesla. And I'm thinking, what? They're just going to spend $88 billion? Big number. But what? Is that all you're going to spend to beat Tesla? You're going to spend $88 billion, and you think you're going to beat Tesla with that? The thing is, it's really hard for new startups to break into the market, but Tesla's already broken into the market. I mean, Tesla's like a universally recognized name. Ask somebody who the CEO of Volkswagen is. No one's got no clue. I don't have a clue. But ask somebody who's the CEO of Tesla. Everyone knows that. I mean, everyone at my school knows who Elon Musk is. Everyone knows what Tesla is. It's more, I think, as long as Tesla break through that battery barrier, really getting those long miles, really long without charge. Because I think it's interesting because my friends were talking about Teslas the other day because they were like into cars, and so that's some really expensive cars, right? Very fast to school. And they're like, oh yeah, but the thing with I said, oh, do you guys like Tesla? Because I was thinking, I'll just ask them. They went, yeah, but apparently they take after 2 minutes. You need to recharge them. I was thinking that's a bit of a myth, but I think as long as you get the timing out, you need to do batteries. I think Tesla, maybe not in the 5 years, it's not going to be the best performing EV stock out of them all. We got a lot priced in, but I think one main stock I compared Tesla to, my second biggest electric vehicle holding, which is Neo. I thing with Neo is I like Neo, but you've got the China kind of stuff, but you've got there's been a fear of delisting with the stock at the moment. Now, I think Neo, unlike Xpeng or Li Auto, they've prepared for this. That's why you've got Neo China and Neo Inc. Neo Inc.'s on the stock exchange. They control Neo China. But when you do it, you're not directly investing in the entity Neo China. So they've been preparing for this Chinese law for a long time. I mean, worst case scenario, they get delisted. They've got a 2-year, 3-year window to stay on the stock exchange for a situation with that. Because, the thing with Neo is you've got the situation, if they were going to lie about their financials, I would think their financials be a lot more impressive than they are at the moment. Maybe instead of 5,000, you'd be saying 8,000, 10,000, where that might be. But then instead, you're seeing the kind of growth from Neo, which you'd expect. I think the thing which got me into Neo was that I think the Neo, I mean, you've been to a Neo, a place in Beijing or Shanghai, whether you went, last year, I think
Yeah,
it was.
Shanghai. Yeah, it was cool. They didn't let
I
me
know.
drive it, but I was very impressed in the car. It looked very fancy and yeah, they were cool. There were a bunch of them driving around Shanghai too.
There's this YouTube channel for something like the Chinese teacher or something like that. I think they're like Netherlands, but they speak English. and they were one of the 9 ones to actually own a Chinese car. I think they're a teacher or something. They're in China. You know, they had this massive tour of the car. I'm blown away. You have, you know, I think you haven't got as good autonomous driving, maybe not as good as a tech with Tesla, but I think the kind of design and the more comfiness of the Neo might be, in a sense, a bit more superior to what the Tesla is. I mean, inside it, you know, you've got back massages for every single seat around.
Yeah, I was gonna say the massager. That's pretty epic. And Know Me, have you seen the Know Me thing that pops up? It's kind of cool.
I know that is really nice, and you've got battery swap as well. But what I all love about the whole thing, it really is made to last. And, you know, it's a really nice looking car. I mean, the Queen's seat, which is where the main passenger was sit opposite the driver, that seat can go back completely all the way and hit the back seat there. That's got a full recliner, so the whole seat can recline while you're driving and start back massaging and everything.
Truly like an executive, huh? Like you're just
I
like.
know. Well, yeah. The difference is it goes down like an aeroplane seat, so you get taken down. And I think with all that, it's just amazing. You know, you've got amazing customer service for Neo, and then you've got access to Neo House, and all that kind of stuff. So then you've got not only a car, but there's a video of somebody who said, yeah, Chinese rather than the Australian news network asked why he brought them, is he was just signing a paper. And he went, I brought it because I like the car, but he wanted to meet people as well. He thought buying a Neo would be a way to connect with people. I always find that really interesting how, and like in China, from what I gather from some YouTubers and stuff who live in China, there's quite a strong sense of community, you know, in China. And then you've got Tesla. I think a Tesla car really does lack, you know, community. In that sense, you haven't got a whole group of Tesla drivers driving around China and together in the kind of a road tour kind of thing. But when you're a Neo car and you kind of know who all the other car owners are, you meet them, you know, at Neo House and that kind of area.
Interesting. And I want to dive deep on something you said about Tesla, which is really profound, that they're priced in some of this Robotaxi thing. And I think that's totally, you know, we're seeing Tesla like break every valuation norm for a car company. They're an energy company too. But this whole idea of the Robotaxi and self-driving car is like, you know, that seems like everything. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that? Tesla's strategy versus the other competitors in that space?
Yeah, so I don't think obviously Tesla's like 5 years ahead, you know, in autonomous driving. I think Robotaxi is the kind of thing for them. If you can automize like all the taxis in like the Western world, you're going to make the price for the taxi for the consumer a lot cheaper. And obviously, for Tesla, you're going to get a lot more because you're going to have all the kind of autonomous tech in that taxi. And I think Robotaxi is the kind of thing for Tesla, which I think the share price is most expecting. You know, get a lot of profit with the Robotaxis. I mean, video of Cathy Wood saying she paid $100 the other day to go to the airport in a Robotaxi that will cost her 15. I think Robotaxi is the kind of thing which you're either going to get 100 million or like, you know, 500 million. You know, it's either going to be extremely high amount of money or not. And if I think if it's not those, then I think Tesla stock could suffer.
Interesting. And another thing I wanted to ask you about Bitcoin. You're a Bitcoin. I saw a tweet that you're kind of bullish on Bitcoin. Do you own any? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'm still trying to look into Coinbase at the moment and buying Bitcoin. I mean, the thing with Bitcoin, I don't really know what Bitcoin is, you know, but recently I've done more research because before, you know, Bitcoin's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a mysterious kind of thing which you don't really know much about. It's the kind of thing which like, oh, boy, you know, I heard it's a really dodgy kind of thing. When you look more into Bitcoin, you see over the last decade it's up 100% year over year. Unlike something like, so every year the Federal Reserve can print more and more money. There's actually a clip online of some, you know, one of the people from the Federal Reserve saying, we can print an infinite amount of money. We print as much as the government tells us to print. That's the kind of thing. When it's like, for every dollar you have sitting in the bank right now, you're losing 2 cents a year from every dollar. So with Bitcoin, you've got limited 21 million Bitcoins in existence. You know, probably a lot of them are lost because people forgot their Bitcoin passwords. There's a story online the other day of a guy, and there's a story from some network, and it's like, oh, this guy's a multi-millionaire, but he forgot his Bitcoin password. He's working at Domino's Pizza, and he's got 10 million in Bitcoin, and he forgot his password like ages ago. So now he works at Domino's Pizza. So I think, you know, with Bitcoin, he's got such a limited supply. I think you've got something like 7-8 billion people who live on this world, 21 million bitcoins. It's a lot better than gold. It's a way, it's not a massive block of, gold that you've got to carry around fit in your house if you want to own gold directly. Bitcoin's a lot more massive to the market. I think the one thing which pulls Bitcoin back for me from being, a proper currency is just the amount of, fluctuations you get in the price. I mean, you're buying something US dollar, you wouldn't expect that kind of fluctuations, but I think eventually as the Fed, governments around the world, they start to kind of recognize Bitcoin a bit more, becomes more and more popular. I don't think that will be the case. It'll be more universally recognized as kind of a global currency.
Yeah, and it seems like the volatility is compressing over time. Like as
Yeah.
it's matured as an asset, the band of volatility is slowly shrinking, so it will eventually become more stable. That's what I hope. But it's also a lot of upwards volatility because if the price has to keep going up a lot, unlike the dollar, you have forced upwards volatility, which isn't Bitcoin's fault. And the other thing I'm curious about Bitcoin is like this whole Cash App. I don't know how big that is in the UK, but like Jack Dorsey being so into Bitcoin and him pushing it on Cash App to me is like that's such an interesting part of how this whole thing's happening. Because if we could all buy it with 2 clicks on Cash App, that's going to make it so accessible. I think that's one of the most exciting things happening for Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, with Bitcoin, I think last time we had a massive upwards trend, this back in like 2015, 16, whenever this was, we were getting a lot more talk of a bubble, the Bitcoin bubble, people calling it. So that might have been a bubble and it crashed. But, maybe that was a bubble back then. But I don't think we're seeing lots of bubble talk this time. I think people are kind of more acknowledging Bitcoin. I mean, no, I think, Pomp, I don't know if you know him, he runs the Pomp podcast. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
I
one
had
of
him
the
on
people,
Hyperchange.
yeah, he got me a load of followers and, we were talking about Bitcoin. I went on his podcast and, like he's got some like 50% of his net worth in Bitcoin, which might be a bit crazy, but, he's made good money out even though I got to say 50% might be a bit too far, but, he's made good money out of it. So, big believer in it. I watched something like from a year back is Kevin O'Leary and him were on CNBC. Kevin O'Leary was saying, oh, last year I brought, this is actually CNBC, he said, last year when I was teaching class at Harvard, I brought my students like, oh, buy some of this Bitcoin and stuff. So I brought $100 into all this crypto. And I won't say the exact word, but he said basically like I put $100 and said, this like Bitcoin crap or whatever he said. He said, and now this is how much my crap's worth now. It's worth $60. And then you see Pomp saying, yeah, but you put it into all the other cryptos, didn't you? You didn't just put it into Bitcoin itself. And then obviously the interviewer was like, when is it going to go up, Pomp? When is it going to pop the bubble? And Pomp's like, well, I'm not going to say when it's going to go up and what exact price movement is. I think over time it's going to double. 4 months later, it doubled from that. So I think, you've got so many more. You've got Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy. He invested almost all his cash in Bitcoin. And I don't understand why people like CNBC, they act like they don't understand Bitcoin. I've seen the interview, I can't remember what the name was, but she's like, MicroStrategy, a Bitcoin ETF, or not a Bitcoin ETF, because it's going to come a point when you want a Bitcoin ETF. She asked the exact same questions 3 times. The poor Michael Saylor's like, well, look, we've got a cash in Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin, more money we've got in the bank, we're losing money. She's like, we've really got to take some of that money out of Bitcoin, for just pure management reasons. And then I think Michael Saylor says, yeah, and it's like, and I was just watching, I think that woman's seen been like she's interviewed loads of people about Bitcoin. She's acting like she's clueless, doesn't know anything about the currency. I think more and more, eventually, I think you're going to have the point when it's actually risky for businesses not to own Bitcoin. Not having it as like 5% cash reserves. We saw Square put 1% of their assets into that. You can't really go up 100% every year, and I think a lot more. Maybe going into when we get a lot more Bitcoin, the new Bitcoin people coming in. I think you could see something like, Bitcoin, for Square, that might be now worth like 8% in like 6 years or 7 years of, that initial investment. I think it kind of shows that Square don't really want to go all hands in Bitcoin. Like, they're doing kind of a move by putting 1% in and showing, in general, we're bullish on Bitcoin. I think one of my plays I'm looking at getting at the moment, which is probably my only large cap stock, is PayPal. The CEO of PayPal owns loads of Bitcoin. PayPal are adding Bitcoin to the platform next year, and I think with PayPal in particular, adding Bitcoin and all, get the other cryptos on PayPal, you've got all the everything financially on PayPal as a program. We're at like 100% this year on PayPal. But I'm thinking when you look forward in like 5 years, you've got mainly all the cryptos on PayPal, all your money transfer power on PayPal. They transfer money to each other. If you've got an option, most people to pay by PayPal from an online service, you pay by PayPal. So I think having it all under one roof under PayPal might, make PayPal really one of the biggest companies in the world. We're already really big, but maybe seeing it something like what Facebook's valuation is now, because then you get to the point where, we've got PayPal is now the everything of everything financially with all your money under one roof.
I love your thesis, but I'm of the theory that Cash App will be that platform. Because like Cash Apps right now, they have Bitcoin, you can send money to your friends. It's kind of like an app, but a PayPal.
Not much, haven't they?
What?
Wait, didn't Cash App release merch? I saw something the other day.
Yeah, they did release merch, but like the amount, like Cash App was like 2016 with no one. Now they have 33 million people. They have stocks, Bitcoin, peer-to-peer transfer, and then you have like Jack Dorsey, this guy who's running the company, who's just smart and cares. I don't know too much about the PayPal CEO, but PayPal like started by Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, gets sold, IPO'd, gets bought, gets re-IPO'd. Like it's just gone through so much that when you use PayPal, I feel like I'm using software from like 1990, and I feel like they're kind of behind on Bitcoin. So I see your vision of like, that platform that's a digital bank that moves money everywhere. But I'm like, I just think PayPal is going to move too slow. Cash App's going to move faster, and they'll surpass them. But I love where your thesis is at with that, and I didn't realize. Yeah,
is Cash App on the stock exchanges? I don't think they are. I think there's talk that one of Bill.
They are kind of. They're owned by Square. So Square is only worth half a Bitcoin or half a PayPal, I think, or less or something, market cap wise. But they also own all of Cash App, and I think Cash App justifies a doubling of Square's entire market. Like, I made a couple of videos. Because Cash App, they're making such little money per user for what they will, and they have 33 million users. It's all about expanding users, and so Cash App is in this land and expand mode, and then they're just going to start monetizing average revenue per user. It's going to start increasing. So I don't know. But I'm also like PayPal, Cash App. These are the company, Bitcoin. These are things that win. It's like Bank of America. Stripe is also a winner. All these other legacy ones that are losing. I think there's going to be a few big digital payment winners.
In like the auto industry, like I said, the legacy areas. Or about Square. Have you heard of Paysafe? They're going public.
No, I didn't hear about it until I saw your tweet yesterday about like a comp of Square and Paysafe, right? That was really interesting.
Yeah, I'll just so I retweeted it, and I'll just share what Paysafe is. So, Fortnite, Twitch, all the major kind of gaming platforms, they all use Paysafe to transact, revenue. It's all used from Paysafe. I mean, I'll just read you something I found the other day. So we look at 2015, Square was worth around 4.5 billion. They had a stock price of 12.30. Paysafe started at 9 billion. Stock price of 12.70. Transaction volume on Square in 2015 was 36 billion. They had a revenue of 1.27 billion. Transaction volume on Paysafe is $98 billion. Square's something like 103, $105 billion. So in a sense, they're already similar to that in that. Then you've got the EBITDA margin, and now Paysafe's got an EBITDA margin of 30%. They have a 2020 EBITDA of like 390 million. 2015, Square had one of minus 11%, 11.7%, and now they lost $147 million. So I think, gaming's in itself is a really growing industry. I think it's all going online. I mean, you've got the Roblox IPO coming up soon. I think, that's one of the best IPOs coming up.
Yeah, I wanted to actually, that was on my list of I'm curious what you think of Roblox too.
Yeah, so I think kind of Paysafe, it's got all these massive gaming platforms. It's running, it's transacting on that platform. So I think that could be really kind of a big thing going forward. At the moment, I also think about investing in Square. I think I'm going to see what happens with Paysafe at the moment, see what we're like in a year. Maybe when I get a bit more spare cash from something, then I might put that into Square. But I think for Paysafe, you've got it's like the company valued at like $9 billion. You've got $98 billion today, and you've got for the whole year of transaction revenue is what Square was like 100, 310, something like that, whatever $1 billion that is. You've got Paysafe kind of a similar area to that, maybe less globally, well known on the stock market, but I think it's kind of mini Square in the making.
I love this pitch, and especially what you're saying about the end market being gaming. Like, to me, that's a
Yeah.
huge sector that I want exposure to, is
Hey,
people streaming on Twitch, people Fortniting, like whatever, you know? And so if their technology is enabling that and they're tying onto the growth of those, that seems like really exciting.
like there's something online and they were like, oh, the only reason I'll ever buy Paysafe, they're trying to start Paysafe thing. They do all of it as some YouTuber. What the YouTuber didn't know is everything they listed, Paysafe are actually the company for that. It's Twitch, it's Fortnite, it's all the major gamers, they all use Paysafe. When you get more and more people spending money on that kind of stuff, I mean, you've got some crazy tech IPOs recently. The market's been drained of tech IPOs because of this coronavirus pandemic, and you've got them all coming back. See Square, I mean Ross Gub, I think he was on, TD Ameritrade or whatever it's on. So, look, DoorDash on public an evaluation right now at 70 billion. Chick-fil-A, Dunkin' Donuts, some other major one. That's the same amount as DoorDash combined. DoorDash is never going to make money. You're in one of the worst industries to be in, which is food delivery. Always got so many competitors all the time. Get rid of one, there's a new one. Uber Eats, that's never really going to make money. That's just something, Uber boosts their revenue by a lot. But I think that kind of sector, you've had so many tech IPOs going up recently, but I think investors aren't really prepared for when we get out this fully. They're going to have a lot more tech IPOs going back onto the stock market, and maybe those stocks are going to go down as they become less. There's kind of less hot company. There's more hot companies on the stock market rather than just very few. I mean, I think Roblox. Seeing as you asked me about Roblox, just ask that question now.
Yeah, Roblox. I'm really curious about, like, I know they had like a Cybertruck in the game, and people were
Yeah.
telling me about that Easter egg, and like I don't really know anything about Roblox, but it's like kind of like a world that you can build in code, Minecraft-esque, but it seems to be gaining huge traction and kids love it. And they're making a ton of money. So I don't know. I'm really curious to hear like what your take is.
Yeah, so Roblox, I was at my friend's house one time, and my friend's friend was there, and they were like obsessed with Roblox. They're like the biggest Roblox fan ever, and I was like, I'm not really into the kind of Roblox that kind of stuff. I'm more kind of a Minecraft type person. But look at Roblox; it's more for little kids, but it's one of the most best. Gaming itself, such a good business to be in. High margin. I think the Roblox coins are ridiculous to buy a Roblox coin, to buy coins for your thing, but people buy it. That puts their revenue up by a load, and it's something maybe which will get as much hype as something like Snowflake and stuff like that, because maybe more people don't understand it. But then, I mean, your uploads this year and like revenue or whatever, but the whole business is such a profitable business to be in. It's going to be carrying on growing and growing and growing. I think a lot of these games they go out of favor. They have this massive hype thing. They go out. Roblox haven't had that. They've always been kind of in there. I mean, one of the hottest new games which I actually love is Among Us. That's like kind of a multiplayer group game. And before that, for this 1 week there was this thing called Fall Guys that was really popular, but because it wasn't really that interactive and stuff, people fell away from Fall Guys after 1 week. And Among Us came in, and Among Us, you see it now, where they have massive peaks, they go down, but not by lows, and it stays very steady. They release a brand new map for people to play on. It goes right back up to those peaks. It starts steadying out at maybe a bit of a higher level. It keeps going up. So I think there's certain games which are always going to be popularity, like Minecraft and stuff. I think having something like Roblox and stock market is one of the very, very pure gameplays. I mean, Amazon and Twitch, so you can't really buy Amazon as a hope on Twitch, because they didn't even say how much Twitch earns, because it's only such a small part of the business for Amazon. I think something like Roblox, high profits, being really in favor for a long time. I think that could be a massive kind of tech IPO.
And I heard this new saying recently of gaming is the new social. Like when I got home from like high school or middle school or whatever, it was like AOL chat. Then now I'm on Facebook in high school, but like you go on and just chat with your friends, right? And so now it feels like people, that isn't a social network. It's games where kids are going home after school to communicate. And that to me is such a big like kind of movement that's happening.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a bit more about that. So now you don't see as many people on Facebook anymore. People have Facebook accounts, but they're not very active on there. You go home, for a lot of people, you go home, You go on your Xbox or whatever, and you go and you talk to your friends on Xbox and play your favorite games with your friends. That's really how it works at the moment for social life. You go home, meet up with your friends maybe at once a week or whatever, go play footy or whatever. But you're on it, you're on your Xbox, whatever, and you're just talking to your friends, communicating with them. So I think it's more maybe something like bye Facebook, come on, some Xbox, Roblox, anything really on an Xbox you can play online with people. Roblox is on Xbox. So I think that kind of stuff. I think going forward, like as you said, gaming really is going to be the new social. I think you're going to recognise as my generation kind of grows up, to maybe even like just 20 years old in that kind of time. I think you're still going to be communicating over Xbox quite a lot. It's kind of a new kind of thing in general, but it's way more popular. A lot more people actually using it as that communication method. And now, if somebody has a PS4 or PS5, they go, get your Xbox, get this, get that. Let's go get this game so we can play it together. And I think that's kind of go get your mum and dad to buy that £60 game, which might not be worth £60, but we pay it, so it doesn't matter because that's what it's worth now. That's how it works. Somebody pays that amount, that's worth that. Like the Roblox coins, price is ridiculous. People pay it. Roblox coins are worth that. That's how it works.
Yeah.
So So with gaming, I think you're going to see a lot more people like Facebook. I don't think Mark Zuckerberg can really do much about that. He's such a clever guy. But what's he going to start? The all-new Facebook, the Facebook version of an Xbox? It's not happening. So there's I think you're going to see in the next few years, that these gaming plays are really going to take off and stuff like maybe even Paysafe, which I'm in. You're going to get so many people interacting more, so many more people buying coins on all this, and then you're going to have these prices going up and up and up because more and more people are on this, more and more people spending money, and this is a new kind of social network. So the kind of second social network. So at the start you had Facebook, now you've got gaming, and maybe something after that. Who knows what's going to happen? But
Yeah.
I think gaming is. I think eventually it's going to be Facebook gaming and something else. I think gaming's not going to last for the next 60 years as the thing which people interact. Very well might do. I think it's got a better chance at Facebook than being that thing when everybody's on gaming. I think that's the difference. Not everyone's on Facebook, but everyone's on gaming. People love gaming. So I say in a school of about 1,000 people, 80% of them go and play games on Xbox. I think something, all those games, all the Roblox, all this kind of stuff, I think is absolutely going to be massive. There's going to be more and more transaction volume. And, I can't see any of that kind of stuff slowing down.
Yeah, and it feels like we have a sneak preview into the future, like Ready Player One. Like what I see is, okay, we were just chatting with words and text on Facebook, and that's such a not immersive experience.
Now you talk.
Now you talk, and your digital avatar is in this world with your friend's digital avatar, and you've created this virtual world in which to hang out in. And so what I see the future of all, it's like VR. Facebook's tried to have something called rooms where you just hung out with your friend in this virtual room, but there was no game behind it, so nobody did it.
I only just learned of rooms then. Nobody has rooms.
Yeah, nobody has it, but
no one has it. Why would you download rooms? Then you can go on Xbox and play with your friends, play a game, and it's like especially some kids these days. It's like all they talk about is games, and that's the kind of thing which really does show you, So maybe when maybe back in your day, you're not older, you're pretty young, like 30 or whatever. But it's even now, it's getting a lot more. It's really getting in. People are always thinking about games and stuff, telling their friends about brand new games, and I think more and more games you get, and I think that's really my bet on Paysafe, and it's going to get more and more people in games, different games. Paysafe's going to be all in those kind of games. Doing the money transfers and all that kind of stuff. So I think in general, pure bets on gaming like Roblox especially, that could be massive in 5 years. You might see Roblox be over, double, triple from IPO price, or they might not. But I think or it might not. It could be the kind of thing where it doesn't actually happen. The prediction.
A cooler game comes out. Who knows?
Cooler game comes out. Roblox, goodbye. But I think you've got to really see the gaming trends. I mean, you see lots of people in Among Us, for example, came into fashion. They said this isn't going to be popular for more than a week. we've been popular since pandemic. The game's been out for 3 years. You've got to remember that with Among Us. It's not high grossing at the moment. There's not loads of money, in the game at the moment. It's not really monetized. It's owned by Innersoft and it's their main game. But you've got just had the brand new map advert released yesterday because there's maps in Among Us which you play with your friends. The whole concept of a game like Among Us is you're going into a lobby. So you go into a public lobby where you just join random people, and you have to go around finishing tasks on a spaceship. But you can get killed by the imposters, and the imposters can jump out in different rooms and kill people, and then there's like sabotages. And then every time they release a brand new map, I mean, as soon as the game came into popularity after 3 years being out, it's like they were massive. It's like, it's a test of stock chart. The game was like, it went test a stock chart. So it really was like there's a stock chart in that sense for Among Us. But I mean, you see it with that. It's like, so you've got the massive peak here, and you're going down. They stabilize at this area. Release a new map, it goes up loads of little more. I mean, the new advert which they released yesterday for the new map is such a cool advert. I mean, you've got so many new features for it. You've got so many cool new kind of designs for it, and that kind of thing. It's gonna have a massive spike again. Stabilize, but probably stabilize at a higher point. Because I mean, after 3 years, immediately as soon as it became popular, the developers announced Among Us 2. They cancelled Among Us 2, because it's kind of like, well, you might as well just put all your maps onto Among Us 1. There's not really any point of creating a 2, and all the energy is going into, of the one Among Us. I mean, especially I'm always on the European servers because that's the only way you can actually get in a lobby. It's so hard to get into an American lobby. You've got to scroll to the bottom and wait for ages for more people to join because it's just so popular all the time. I mean, we had a serious problem when we first had it. It's like so many people were timing out for like 5 minutes and stuff because the game was getting so overloaded. But now I've got this in those peak hours, it's not happening anymore. So I mean, the servers itself have adapted. I think they just won something like the best multiplayer of the year award. It's like massive. I mean, they started a Twitter account the other day. It's run by, I think it's just a lady who sits down like a computer at the Innersoft offices, and she just sits there and she just replies to tweets about Among Us. And then there's people like, and it's like amazing because she tweeted out this like a tweet from her the other day because it's like Among Us game official. 2 weeks of when they had the new Twitter page out, 807,000 followers. It's a lot more. Something like Among Us, for example, unlike Roblox or any of that kind of stuff, it's a really streamable game. Content creators.
That seems like a big component for the Twitch ecosystem.
I think if Innersoft ever wins, I would say Innersoft's not something which is going to go to the stock market. It's more of a private, funding kind of thing. Angel investors. I know you do a bit of that kind of stuff, so you might be able to, buy stock in a stock or whatever as an angel investor. But that's the kind of thing where it's not really a stock market kind of thing, because if they ever go to the stock market in a stock, it's not going to be the whole brand in a stock. There's loads of games they have, but Among Us is really the only massive one. You have others like 1 or 2 million downloads. Among Us has got 110, 100 million, 120 million downloads in the course of 4 months. So I know. So it's really taken off from having 1 million to 110 million. I think that's that kind of thing, especially Among Us in the gaming world. I mean, this kind of game which it started off with the hype where I don't play as much anymore. I played it like 2 times today, the game, and I'm on it every day. It's like Among Us is the kind of game where sometimes you have like these things where you don't play it for like 2 weeks, and then you're thinking, and you think, oh, I might as well just play one game. And you play it for 1 hour straight, play Among Us game after Among Us game, trying to get the imposter. You're trying to win as imposters, like the funnest thing. Especially if you're playing with friends and stuff, it's really fun if you're able to get 10 friends together all at one time in a lobby, because then you can try to figure out who the imposter is, and when your friend starts getting a bit, I'm going to talk way more than I usually do in Among Us. You're like, hey, you're the imposter, aren't you? Because you're talking too much. Or if you talk loads, always like saying, oh, it's probably this person. Oh, this person did this. And you don't say that, then you're like, well, that guy's a bit sus now, isn't he? Because he's not talking as much.
Mm-hmm.
I think the whole gaming in general is going to be massive. Like that kind of games. I mean, that's kind of stuff that you have crowdfunding that's like Crowdcube and stuff like that. But those games, if they ever went into Crowdcube, CDARs or any of those big kind of massive crowdfunding apps, you're going to see 100% plus raise in the course of a few hours, because that Among Us, Roblox, I think it's going to be absolutely massive, and the amount of money which is going to get transacted on it, and the amount of revenues are going to carry on going up and up and up and up, especially as you get my generation maybe having kids and whatever, their kids are going to be the exact same. You get some kids these days going to say, my son's 7, I'm going to buy him an Xbox and teach him how to play games. And, that's like, it's kind of that mentality for some people, and I'm thinking, when we are like 30 or whatever, you're going to see that kind of stuff. I think it's going to be absolutely massive, and if you're willing to hold for that kind of a 10-year time horizon for something like Roblox, let's say they just go public at $100, just to make it easy, they go public at $100. We get some sort of reasonable valuation by the time it goes public. But it's probably kind of a crazy, but it's kind of a real valuation compared to something like Snowflake, which Warren Buffett brought at like $5 and he sold at 200. And so Warren Buffett was kind of trying to turn you into a bit of the banks and that, and because he sold immediately after, because he didn't like Snowflake anymore because it was too expensive. I think if we can get Roblox at some kind of, at least a moderate valuation, I think that could be like absolutely brilliant for something like Roblox. I think gaming's gonna be massive.
Wow, I think you're so on point with that. Awesome insight. And I'm curious to switch gears a little bit. Like I'm really fascinated by your own strategy as a creator. This is something that I'm super curious about. Like, where are you going with this? Like, you have your Twitter, you have your YouTube, like you're putting out content. Like, tell us what's up with that.
Yeah, so my strategy for YouTube, Twitter at the moment is I don't think Twitter. If I'm ever going to make money out, social media, it's not going to be Twitter. It's going to be YouTube. I've got some like the 20,000 followers on Twitter or whatever I have. I think you've got like 30,000. My main is trying to get that traffic onto YouTube, and just in last fire like 5 minutes before I came on here, I've hit 4,000 subs on YouTube.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. And I was trying. I pushed that in like the last hour. I was tweeting on Twitter for everyone to go subscribe to my YouTube. But I think as long as I'm trying to get more and more things to YouTube. I mean, before I did like videos, but I mean my camera quality wasn't great. But now I use well, I got a bit more better camera, for my phone and all that. And so I'm trying to, now I've got thumbnails and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just trying to grow my YouTube at the moment. I think that's kind of the place which I want to be in. It's a lot more connectable, but then I use Twitter for like, if I'm organising an interview like this, I mean, I don't know why, but I absolutely hate emails. I don't know. I don't ever go on emails. It seems really bad, and sometimes I go in and I realise I forgot to some Zoom meeting I was meant to get back to them about. I got like 3 emails from them, and it's like kind of thing where if anything it can happen. It's like, especially with social media and stuff, it's so much easier to all have it in one place than to go through emails and that kind of stuff. I mean, if I can, message someone directly on Twitter to organise something, I'd rather do that, any day of the week than having to communicate through an email. So I think that kind of stuff, I'm just trying to drive that traffic to YouTube. And so, I mean, some people are like, oh, what link do you want me to put in the description of my video? It's always YouTube, YouTube's the kind of thing I want to get that traffic to.
And I'm even more curious, like, why put out content? Like, why are you investing your time into creating a YouTube presence and a Twitter presence?
Originally, I guess that's because my family aren't into stocks and shares. I actually got my dad into it recently. It's like a few months ago. It's like within like the first 2 months, or I got my dad into it, and he's like into EV stuff as well. But I mean, I got him into Archimoto, but he didn't buy loads of it. I was like the crazy Archimoto bull. All I talk about is Archimoto, and I was buying. And my dad was kind of kicking himself, and he sold at like 10, and then it went up to 18. So yeah, but I mean, I'm a lot more kind of. I'm in kind of. I would say the difference between me and my dad's like I'm kind of like the analyst guy, but he's sort of like my dad's kind of guy who's like so. I mean, none of my parents like traders before any of this. My only past dad's experience was with Richard Branson once, and him and my granddad, he took his company public, and he went on a road trip across England selling his stock in his company.
No way.
So, yeah, he went on basically a road trip. Richard Branson went on a road trip. He went everywhere, talking about his new stock. Kind of sounds like a pyramid scheme, and it goes around trying to sell your stock. But after a week of it being on the stock market, it didn't get the gains Richard Branson wanted, so he brought it all back. and took it private after a week.
Wow.
Yeah, bit questionable that. But you know, my dad, so it's like my first time in like 30 years, my dad started reinvesting a bit more. I mean, I do read sometimes, you know, stuff like, I mean, when I was talking to, you know, Ross Gerber and stuff like that, you know, it's like dividend investing. If you're like, if you've got a load of money to invest, you may have, and you're, you know, in retirement, dividend investing is going to be great for you if you want that little income. Listen, like I was watching, I don't know if you ever heard of Joseph Carlson. He's got like 100,000 subs. You know, he runs a YouTube channel like 123,000 subs, and he's like a kind of a dividend growth investor. You know, he's been investing for 1 year and he made 50%, 60%, because he was buying, you know, the crash and stuff, and he's in really kind of high growth stocks. I mean, his Discord's like really cheap, so like $6 a month. I did join the other day. It's like the kind of thing when you find out not just his dividend, the $123,000 dividend portfolio. He's got a 40,000 portfolio for the story funds, which is a pure growth portfolio. You know, when you're a patron for that kind of stuff, you get like, you know, an extra 40-minute episode a week for that kind of stuff. I think it's quite interesting if you can buy, stuff like Disney. I'm thinking about buying into Disney right now. You know, because valuation of Netflix and Disney are kind of similar. You know, we're at the kind of same railroad, but difference is Disney's got the parks, they've got all that kind of stuff, and then you've got Disney Plus, which I think has potential to catch up to Netflix. I mean, and then do you have Disney Plus?
No.
No.
I'm a
So
big Netflix fan, honestly. I love Netflix.
I have Netflix, but the only reason me and my stepdad have Disney Plus is so we can watch The Mandalorian, which is this really, really, really good series they've got on it, and they issue one episode every week for the Mandalorian. I had to go in isolation for 2 weeks, you know, because of all this coronavirus and that kind of stuff. All I did watch Mandalorian every day. Watch some more Mandalorian. Watch some more Mandalorian. Till eventually, every Friday, I'm like, well, when's the Mandalorian coming out? Because I mean, everyone at school, people are just getting it for that kind of stuff. I think it's Disney. After the pandemic, we can get more people, we need a lot more content on Disney Plus. We need to have more content. Netflix, they're pumping out the good, bad, or ugly, you know, in a film onto their platform, but they've always got new films out on Netflix. But I think that's the main thing Disney needs to get by and get more and more films out created by themselves. I mean, I think stuff like AMC, before the pandemic, not a great company. After the pandemic, not a great company either. Hey, you know, cinemas are on their knees. I mean, they will accept any deal from you know, HBO Max, you know, HBO, whatever, they will accept any deal. And now you've got them, HBO Max are going to be adding all their new films onto that for a month and taking off. So obviously people just don't go on there, watch the films and then not. So then you get that 1 quarter, which you've got the best ever revenue, you know, forever for AT&T and HBO Max. Next quarter, you've gone back to where it was before. Your stock price goes from, you know, I don't even know if AT&T stock price ever moves. It goes from $33 to back to 30 because know what AT&T stock's like. You know, I think stuff like HBO Max, I think that kind of stuff's going to really kill the cinemas. I don't think the cinemas won't die. They won't die out completely. You know, there'll always be cinemas around. You always had the cinema, but I think going out of this coronavirus pandemic, I mean, here in the UK, we had this massive high street retailer called Debenhams, for example. They've got a massive storefront where I live on the seafront, massive storefront, huge shopping centre, but no one's really in it. Before the pandemic, it was really struggling. You know, when we had the pandemic, it was just dropped. You know, just we went in. They went into a ministry. Yeah, they went. They did. Luckily, they went on the stock market, so nobody lost any money on it. But apart from a guy called Mike Ashley, have you ever heard of them?
No.
Yeah, Mike Ashley is this massive guy, massive tycoon, in the retail space. He owns Sports Direct, which is like a massive sports retailer in the United Kingdom, and you know, he decided when all these shops are failing, he's going to buy them up, and he owned 40% of Debenhams before this, like 30%. And because they went into administration, he had his whole shareholding wiped out. He's always looking for the deals, Mike Ashley, so he put in an offer to buy Debenhams, and the administrators are like, we're not going to accept this because we think we can sell the stock of Debenhams for more than this. We're going to sell the stock and pay back the you know, the creditors and people that owe money. And so now they've announced that Debenhams is going to be shutting down by March. Every shop is going to be shut. 12,000 people are going to lose their jobs. For a population of 60 million here in the UK, that's quite a lot of people and then you've got Arcadia Group, which is owned by another guy called Sir Philip Green. And then you get Mike Ashley last minute talks that he's going to try and buy Debenhams again, because he's the kind of, I know. So he drops out. Everyone else drops out. JD Sports, the last bidder, drops out. Mike Ashley is like, well, I don't really want to lose all that money I had in my 30% stake, so I think I'm gonna buy Debenhams again. So now he's in talks again to buy Debenhams, because now he thinks the administrators are going to be desperate to buy it because they want to keep the jobs. And then you've got all these other massive retailers, going out of business. I think the one, I was talking, to when I was on Ross, I was trying to persuade him to buy UK stocks as he was thinking about getting into them. I think, and it's really interesting. It's so interesting, the trends. Because me and my dad were in Bristol up north on holiday one time, and everything else in Bristol in the shopping centres was kind of empty. And there's Primark. So Primark is a clothes retailer here in the UK. They're kind of thing that's just all made in like Afghanistan, Pakistan, China, really cheap clothes, but for really, really cheap prices. And then you have a queue of 200 people around the block, and then you have pictures all over the UK of people lining up up to 2 hours on end just to get in to buy some cheap clothes in Primark. I mean, we walked past it, and some two ladies walking past, young ladies, they were like, oh, let's go in Primark, and the other one goes, it's so busy, and the other one goes, but it's Primark. And it's like, but it's Primark. It's like, whoa, that's kind of customer dedication, which, want to see for the stock. I mean, I think it's kind of interesting what it's kind of see. It's a lot more, I think going forward, it's going to be a lot more kind of the millennial kind of shops which are going to survive, like Primark, which you don't have the 80-year-old going into, or you have the 20-year-olds, or, the 14-year-old and their friends who play hide and seek in Primark and get kicked out after they bought some Primark clothes. But I think that's the kind of store which you're going to see surviving. I think people are moaning that, or people say, oh, but there should be some online tax and all that. And you've got to, I think, my mum, she kind of thinks there should be kind of an online tax, because it's a shame so many retailers can go out of business. But if that's the way the world's going, that's the way the world's going. The high street retailers have got to find a way, or they're going to go bust. I mean, like what Kevin O'Leary was saying the other day on the airlines, let the airlines and all the failed businesses go bust, give the money to the employees so they can find a new job in the next 12 months to get back on their feet on. But I think spending all this money bailing out the airlines, it's like airline bailout. American Airlines are over like 100% in debt, compared to their assets. Like, whoa, just let them go bust. If they're going to go bust, let them.
Right? Why is it on the taxpayers to bail them out? Like, it's like your CEOs ran a crappy business, and now like my taxes are going to like bail you out for like what? Like,
people say, of course, businesses weren't expected for the pandemic. But it really is a business's kind of job to, prepare for any case scenario. I mean, here in the UK, we've got Brexit going on, and we've received a few UK government have been going back and forth on Brexit, but with the EU. But I mean, Emmanuel Macron, who's president of France, he keeps so that all the EU leaders have to agree to this deal for it to be a deal to be signed in the UK, or the UK will leave the EU with no deal Brexit, which means we're now trading on WTO terms with the EU, which people say it's bad, people say it's good, whatever it will be is whatever it will be. But I mean, I'm not too worried about no deal or that kind of stuff personally, but I think then you've got, so then now you're seeing all the other EU leaders agreeing to deals, but then Emmanuel Macron saying, wait a second, Air France wants to be able to, because for years, us and France have been fighting over fishing rights. So I mean, the French like to fish in our area of the Channel, we like to fish in their kind of the area, and then Emmanuel Macron wants full rights to be able to fish in our area, so all the French fishermen can come over and I think there was like the French boats were ramming our boats in British waters the other day. Fishing boats, I know, kind of crazy, but it's like kind of stuff like if the UK goes into no deal, for example, people say it's going to be really bad. It's going to be really bad for some businesses. It's going to be really going to be a finishing, a chop for some businesses. But I think everything happening in the UK. I mean, the other day I was really considering buying some UK stocks. Kind of the first time maybe £100 just into some value stocks. 52 stocks of one stock maybe, just because the UK stock market, unlike your stock, unlike the American stock market, we haven't recovered from this coronavirus. We haven't got any EV stocks on the UK stock market. We're like we're not you know, if it's a playground, you know, the American stock market's the cool kids, you know, going around all these other stock markets are following them trying to be cool and acting cool, like unlike the UK, like the American stock market, and then there's the UK stock market going, trying to be, you know, being the wannabe cool kids, you know, trying to get some cool stuff on the UK stock market. When you get it, no one buys it. It's like, oh, we'll go to the American stock market, and the American stock market gets more friends on the playground. I think, yeah, because that's kind of the way it works. It really is. I think, you know, it depends. You know, it depends what you really want to buy for, like stuff like the UK stock market and that kind of stuff. I think, you know, potential for like, I think there might be potential buying value stocks in the UK stock market. I have no clue what your original question was, but somehow
Okay. I don't either. But here's my last question. This is so fascinating. What do you have any predictions for us, or trends to watch, or just anything like that you think is, you know, fascinating you right now that we should be checking out?
Yeah. So Paysafe, which I was talking about a minute ago,
Yep.
anything to do with like gaming, you know, cash exchange, I think that kind of stuff's gonna be good. Also EV in general, because I mean, I own the really speculative stocks, you know, to the really, you know, secure stocks in EV. I mean, sometimes, and also kind of cannabis and that kind of stuff. I said there's only one stock I own in that sector, and I was talking about the other day on my channel. Somebody said, "I'll make sure you don't take the stuff you invest," and I went, "Don't worry, I won't." But I think there's this one stock you guys should look into. It's called Grow Generation, ticker symbol GRWG. Hydroponics, you know, you're there in the US, you're going to have more and more states legalizing that kind of stuff. Grow Generation are the largest hydroponics retailer in the whole of the United States. Hydroponics is a really kind of a new sector. They just brought out their main competitor the other day for like $15 million or 8 million, and now you've got Grow Generation like 30, 40, 50 stores, and their nearest competitor with 5. So and then you've got Grow Generation, which just had a massive blowout quarter. So they don't actually sell, you know, the cannabis and products like that. They provide, you know, for all the hydroponics, they provide all that kind of equipment for them. I think something like Grow Generation, you know, you're in such a good position cash-wise. You know, you've got, you know, like $30 million, $40 million in cash, you're going to be able to expand into more and more states. I mean, the stock's up, you know, 667% in a year, but then Tesla's up, you know, whatever Tesla's up, you know, just seems to be going up. And then, I mean, I would say that, you know, the final stock which I've been buying into is Neo. So I used to own this stock at 16. I made the biggest mistake ever and sold at 18. I don't know, that was a great decision, I have to say. But I've been buying back Neo recently, and I think the kind of thing is we got to the point now where we've had a peak of like 55 on the stock. We're at 41 now. In the space of around 4 weeks, Li Auto, XPeng, Neo, who have just launched a capital raise like 69, like 60 million or whatever it's going to be. Tesla, we've all been doing capital raises, taking advantage of these going up stock prices. And I think now, especially for something like Neo, which has really gone down. I mean, before we had this cash offering today, which we're down like 8% on, we were actually replicating the Tesla stock chart. Exact same second whatever Tesla stock did, Neo stock did. You actually put the charts together, there's not hardly any difference in the same charts. So I think for something like Neo, which, you know, did you ever own Neo stock? Because, you know, you've been at the place, or is that something you were kind of?
No, I'm so picky with what stocks I buy, and I buy and hold. Like I don't like, if I'm gonna buy it, I'm holding for like 10 years. I don't trade at all. So I've been on the fence watching Neo, but I've never jumped in.
You know, I think the kind of cool thing about Neo is, you know, you've got a car. It's such a community. I think you don't have the same community with Tesla. You know,
I
owners
don't know.
in
I
one
think you
sense.
do though. Like, look at how strong the Tesla community is. Owner meetups in every city. You go on Twitter and say, I got a Tesla. Everybody's like, oh my God, congrats. That's
Yeah,
amazing. Like, I
but
think every Tesla event you go to, you feel like family because everyone's like, yo, what's up? So I think that to me, the Tesla community is huge and real. It's not like the Neo community where they have an official community with a house, but in reality, the Tesla community is bigger and stronger than Neo. It just isn't official, if that makes sense.
yeah. I mean, on Twitter, you've got all the,
Like
you
come
know.
to California, dude, and you'll be blown. You'll be like, oh my God, this is like in the amount of Teslas, everybody, you like, you know?
Yeah, I heard everyone's moving out from California at the moment because of
Yeah, I
pure
should have said
tax.
Austin, honestly. That's right.
Yeah, Austin's a place to be with Elon at the moment. Everyone's moving to Austin from Texas. But I mean, I think the thing with Tesla, especially in China, is the kind of thing where, you know, the Chinese are a lot more the kind of people who like to, you know, meet up certain times, you know. they're not really driving around, as a bit of fun. The kind of Chinese, they like comfort when they drive, but they like meeting people. I think if you wanted, for an example, like, some people who might want to, if you're a budding young, guy who wants someone, venture capital, I don't think you're going to get that by buying a Tesla necessarily, but when you're at Neo House, if you go there every single day, you get to know more and more people. That's the kind of thing where, people might, take a chance on you in that kind of sense. But I think Neo as a brand, you're going to the Netherlands soon. I don't see the potential for Neo. I mean, it's kind of a lifestyle brand. I do describe it as a lifestyle brand, Neo, but I think when you're expanding into Netherlands and stuff, I think Europe's their next big place to go to, Neo. I don't think, also, there's not going to be Neo houses everywhere. I think the whole car and the design of Neo, I think, a lot of people in the UK, I don't know, they like driving their own cars. You say that, there's some people like, oh, I love driving my own cars, and some people might just be jealous they don't have a Tesla. But when you see that on autopilot, and then someone's at the back, but I think with Neo, I mean, you've got quite an advanced autopilot. I think the one thing about Neo autopilot is that sometimes when you're driving in the middle of the road, you might just lose it, and then it goes beep beep, and you've just got to correct it continues back on. But I think the thing with, like, you've got so much luxury in the Neo car. You've got so much as $60,000. The Teslas are going to undercut them in China. But the problem with Tesla's prices, by the time you've added all your autopilot and all your extras and made it your car, it's kind of the same price. Tesla's like $1 grand cheaper. And with Tesla with Neo with all the extras that you want, it's kind of the same price. So I think that's kind of really interesting thing about Neo for me.
Love it. And honestly, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to join the show. I'm a big fan of what you're doing, and the fact that I think you have such a bright future. Like, you're such an original thinker, which is super, super rare. And I'm so excited that you put out all your stuff for free. Like, you're putting out content and people can learn and they can follow you. And I'm just so excited and so happy and honored that I got to have you on for a podcast. So seriously, I appreciate the time.
No, thanks for coming on. I'm a long time listener to the channel.
Yeah, dude. Well, keep it up, bro. I can't wait to follow you. I feel like I have 10 stocks to research that you just told me about right now. So I got to go do my homework. Oh, and where can people follow you? Can you let them know? Like, I'll put a link to your YouTube channel for sure. Young Investor 2 on Twitter. Where else can people find you?
Yeah, so it's mainly on, I do have actually a custom YouTube URL now. I got it the other day, so it's actually just type in,
Legendary.
So just type in, www.youtube.com/younginvestor. My channel should come up, but I think you might need to put a youtube.com/c/younginvestor. There's URLs that for some reason. I don't know if someone else took, the normal one, but I think that's really where you follow me. And YouTube's, as I said, it was the kind of place where I'm trying to drive people to. So if you follow me on Twitter, that's great. But make sure to follow me and subscribe to me on YouTube.
Love it. If I could buy one stock and one financial creator, I think it would be you. I'm so bullish. I'm buying calls. All right.
Load up with the call option.
Yeah. Well, have a great night, Zachary. Thank you so much. We'll talk again soon. All right. Peace out.
Yeah. Thanks. See ya. Thanks for inviting me on.